The lands of the prehistoric planet were ruled by the dinosaurs, but the seas were dominated by a very different group of reptiles, the Mosasaurs, and this is the skull of one of them.
Marine reptiles were among the most remarkable creatures to ever inhabit Earth's oceans. Unlike what many might assume, they weren't fish, nor were they dinosaurs. These were reptiles, animals adapted to life in water, yet fundamentally distinct from land-dwelling reptiles and marine animals like fish or whales. To understand these creatures, we need to look back to the Mesozoic Era, a time spanning from about 252 to 66 million years ago. This was the age of reptiles, a period marked by the dominance of dinosaurs on land and marine reptiles in the oceans. While we often associate the word reptile with animals like snakes or lizards, marine reptiles were a separate evolutionary branch entirely. They adapted to the aquatic environment in ways that allowed them to thrive in a variety of marine habitats. The first true marine reptiles appeared during the Triassic period, over 250 million years ago, following the mass extinction at the end of the Permian. With this event, the oceans were left nearly barren, but new opportunities arose for creatures capable of adapting to an underwater lifestyle. The earliest marine reptiles evolved from land-dwelling ancestors, gradually developing traits such as streamlined bodies, limbs modified into flippers, and specialized lungs for breathing air at the surface, but they were ultimately completely reliant on the water. Among the earliest and most well-known marine reptiles were the Ichthyosaurs. These creatures resembled modern dolphins in their overall shape and size, but their lineage was entirely distinct. The Ichthyosaurus evolved to become one of the fastest swimmers of the Mesozoic oceans, with an elongated body, a pointed snout, and large eyes, adapted for hunting in deep waters. This made them efficient predators, preying primarily on fish and squid. In fact, their speed and hunting prowess are why they're often considered the most successful of all marine reptiles. But no marine reptile embodied the sheer scale and power of the Mosasaurus. These were the apex predators of the Mesozoic seas. Reaching lengths of up to 50 feet, the Mosasaurs dominated the oceans in the late Cretaceous period. Their powerful jaws, reinforced with teeth designed to grip and tear apart prey, made them the top predators in their environment. Their hunting tactics were complex and involved ambushing prey using both speed and surprise. They weren't just predators, they were highly effective hunters, capable of taking down the largest creatures of the time. Each of these creatures was a master of its environment, evolving over millions of years to become perfectly suited to its specific niche. Their anatomy and behavior were dictated by the demands of the ocean: speed, power, agility, and a unique set of survival skills that allowed them to thrive in conditions that would be inhospitable to most other creatures. These marine reptiles played an integral role in the ecosystems of their time. As apex predators, they kept populations of prey species in check, which in turn helped maintain the balance of life in ancient oceans. By studying these creatures, we gain invaluable insight into the complexities of prehistoric marine ecosystems and how life adapts to extreme environments. However, despite their dominance, marine reptiles were not immune to extinction. By the end of the Cretaceous period, they began to disappear. Theories about their extinction point to a combination of factors, including changes in sea levels, cooling temperatures, and the rise of new marine predators, such as early sharks. It's also possible that the asteroid impact, which wiped out the dinosaurs, also had a devastating effect on marine reptile populations. While no single explanation can account for their extinction, what is clear is that their disappearance marked the end of an era for the oceans. Marine reptiles, though gone from our world, have left a lasting legacy. Many of the traits they developed to survive and thrive in the ocean are still visible in modern marine animals. Today's whales, dolphins, and even sea turtles carry the evolutionary echoes of their ancient ancestors. And although the oceans have changed dramatically since the time of the marine reptiles, their role in shaping life on Earth remains undeniable. The climate of the Mesozoic era was significantly warmer than today's. There were no polar ice caps, meaning sea levels were much higher. Shallow tropical seas covered much of what is now dry land, forming vast coastal regions rich in nutrients. These warm waters supported an explosion of marine biodiversity. Coral reefs, ammonites, and early bony fish thrived, laying the foundation for complex food chains. In these ever-changing seas, reptiles that had once roamed the land began adapting to aquatic life. At first, they were mere visitors, venturing into the water to hunt, but always returning to shore. However, over millions of years, certain species became fully marine, evolving streamlined bodies, flipper-like limbs, and lungs capable of holding large amounts of oxygen for extended dives. These adaptations allowed them to become efficient hunters, ruling the prehistoric oceans in much the same way that dinosaurs ruled the land. By the Jurassic period, the world's oceans were entirely transformed. The separation of continents had created multiple ocean basins, each with its own unique ecosystems. Some regions, like the shallow European seas, became the hunting grounds of Ichthyosaurs and Plesiosaurs, while deeper, open waters were patrolled by large apex predators. These vast, shifting environments shaped the evolution of marine reptiles, favoring the survival of the most efficient swimmers, hunters, and divers. Throughout the Cretaceous period, as marine reptiles continued to evolve, another important transformation was occurring beneath the waves. Ocean currents shifted, nutrient levels fluctuated, and competition among predators increased. It was in this turbulent world that the most fearsome marine reptiles, the Mosasaurids, emerged. These massive creatures, some exceeding 15 meters in length, became the undisputed rulers of the Cretaceous seas. But their reign, like that of all prehistoric reptiles, was destined to come to an end. The Mesozoic oceans were, in every sense, a battleground, an environment where only the most well-adapted creatures could survive. And yet, despite the fierce competition, these ancient seas were also a crucible for evolution, shaping life in ways that would echo through time. Even today, their influence can be seen in the marine predators that roam our modern oceans. But while the warm, nutrient-rich seas of the Mesozoic provided ample opportunities for life to flourish, they were not without their challenges. The vast, prehistoric oceans were dynamic and often unpredictable. Global temperatures fluctuated, sea levels rose and fell, and underwater volcanic activity continuously reshaped marine ecosystems. These forces dictated where species could thrive, which food sources were available, and how marine reptiles evolved to survive. One of the defining characteristics of the Mesozoic seas was the presence of extensive epicontinental seas, shallow bodies of water that spread over continental interiors. These vast inland seas, such as the Western Interior Seaway, which once split North America in two, created rich hunting grounds for marine reptiles. Unlike today's deep oceans, where sunlight barely penetrates below a few hundred meters, these shallow seas allowed for thriving marine ecosystems packed with prey species. Fish, cephalopods, and ammonites swarmed these waters, providing a nearly limitless food source for the marine reptiles that dominated these regions. Deeper ocean environments, however, presented an entirely different set of evolutionary challenges. The abyssal depths of the Mesozoic oceans were cold, dark, and largely devoid of plant life, meaning that only highly specialized creatures could survive. Some marine reptiles, like larger ichthyosaurs, developed adaptations for deep diving, including large eyes to maximize vision in low-light conditions and the ability to store oxygen for extended dives. These traits allowed them to venture into the depths where few competitors could follow, expanding their hunting grounds and increasing their evolutionary advantage. But just as environmental pressures shaped the evolution of marine reptiles, so too did the interactions between predator and prey. The Mesozoic seas were not peaceful sanctuaries. They were arenas of constant struggle, where survival depended on the ability to hunt or evade being hunted. As marine reptiles grew larger and more efficient at catching prey, their victims adapted in turn. Fish became faster. Cephalopods developed thicker shells and complex camouflage techniques, and smaller marine reptiles sought refuge in coastal shallows, using their agility to evade pursuit. This ongoing evolutionary arms race is what led to the specialization of marine reptile species. Ichthyosaurs became the sleek, high-speed hunters of the open seas, pursuing schools of fish with remarkable efficiency. Plesiosaurs, with their long, flexible necks, developed a completely different strategy, lurking in the water column, waiting for unsuspecting prey to swim past before striking with deadly precision. Later, the Mosasaurids, some of the largest and most powerful marine reptiles ever to live, rose to dominance, bringing brute strength to the equation and reshaping the balance of power in the oceanic food chain. Yet, despite their adaptations, no marine reptile existed in isolation. The Mesozoic oceans were home to a vast array of creatures, including early sharks, giant sea turtles, and formidable predatory fish such as Ichthyosaurus, a 5-meter-long terror of the Cretaceous seas. These creatures all competed for the same resources, and as food sources dwindled in certain regions, migration patterns changed, forcing marine reptiles to expand their territories or risk extinction. Tectonic activity also played a crucial role in shaping marine reptile evolution. The breakup of Pangaea didn't just alter the continents, it changed ocean circulation patterns, affecting water temperature and nutrient distribution. Some species adapted to colder waters, developing thicker bodies with increased fat stores to insulate against the chill. Others thrived in tropical regions, where warm, shallow waters teemed with prey. As the Mesozoic progressed, these climatic shifts continued to mold the world's oceans, creating an ever-changing stage where only the most adaptable marine reptiles could survive. Some groups flourished for tens of millions of years, evolving into highly specialized forms, while others vanished, unable to keep up with the relentless pace of natural selection. The dominance of marine reptiles in the Mesozoic was not merely a product of their physical adaptations, but of their ability to respond to these environmental pressures. Their success was written in the very fabric of the oceans, dictated by the movement of the continents, the rise and fall of sea levels, and the intricate web of life that thrived within these ancient waters. Spinosaurus, a name that evokes images of a true river monster. It was not only the largest known carnivorous dinosaur, but also an apex predator that ruled the waterways of the Cretaceous period. Surpassing even the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex in length, this extraordinary dinosaur was built for a life both on land and in water, exhibiting features that set it apart from any other large theropod. Unlike the towering, powerful-jawed T-Rex, Spinosaurus had an elongated skull, eerily reminiscent of modern crocodiles. This adaptation was no accident. Its skull structure, combined with its narrow snout and conical teeth, made it an efficient fish hunter. Unlike the serrated teeth of other predatory dinosaurs, which were designed to crush bone, Spinosaurus's teeth were specialized for gripping slippery prey, such as fish and small aquatic creatures. Recent fossil discoveries have reshaped how we view Spinosaurus. For decades, paleontologists debated its true nature. Was it a land-based predator like other theropods, or was it something more? The discovery of densely packed bones, a trait seen in aquatic animals such as penguins, provided critical evidence that this massive dinosaur was capable of submerging itself in water. Unlike many land-dwelling theropods, which had lighter, hollow bones to support fast movement on land, Spinosaurus's bones suggest that it was heavier and more buoyant, allowing it to navigate rivers and lakes with ease. The most striking feature of Spinosaurus, of course, was its enormous sail-like structure on its back. This feature, made of elongated neural spines, has puzzled scientists for years. Some theories suggest that it was used for display purposes, to attract mates or intimidate rivals. Others propose that it functioned as a thermoregulatory device, helping the dinosaur absorb heat from the sun. However, recent research suggests that it may have aided in aquatic movement, acting like a stabilizer while swimming, much like the dorsal fin of a fish. Fossilized remains indicate that Spinosaurus inhabited coastal environments, river systems, and mangroves, where its semi-aquatic adaptations allowed it to thrive. Unlike fully terrestrial predators, which relied on speed and strength to take down prey, Spinosaurus likely used ambush tactics, lurking beneath the water's surface before launching itself at unsuspecting prey. This method of hunting closely mirrors the behavior of modern-day crocodiles, which patiently wait before striking with sudden, calculated precision. Another fascinating aspect of Spinosaurus's hunting strategy was its jaw and bite force. While it may not have had the bone-crushing power of T-Rex, its narrow skull and interlocking teeth made it exceptionally well-suited for catching fish. It likely fed on large prehistoric fish, such as Morsonia, a giant coelacanth, and Onchopristis, a sawfish-like creature that once thrived in the Cretaceous waterways. Evidence suggests that Spinosaurus may have even hunted small dinosaurs or scavenged carrion when necessary, further demonstrating its versatility as a predator. Another major discovery that supports the semi-aquatic nature of Spinosaurus was the structure of its limbs and tail. Unlike other large theropods, which had strong hind limbs adapted for running, Spinosaurus had shorter and stockier legs, indicating that it was not built for high-speed pursuits on land. Instead, it likely moved in a quadrupedal stance when on land, using its massive front limbs for support. But perhaps the most surprising adaptation of all was its paddle-like tail. In 2020, researchers uncovered evidence suggesting that Spinosaurus had a long, fin-like tail, which would have functioned much like that of a crocodile or even a newt, allowing it to propel itself efficiently through water. This discovery was groundbreaking, as it cemented the idea that Spinosaurus was one of the few dinosaurs truly adapted to an aquatic hunting strategy. When people think of the deadliest dinosaur, T-Rex often comes to mind. But how did Spinosaurus compare? The answer lies in their evolutionary adaptations. T-Rex was built for brute force with an immensely powerful bite capable of crushing bone. It was a land-based predator that relied on sheer strength and its highly developed sense of smell to track down prey. Spinosaurus, on the other hand, was more specialized for an amphibious lifestyle. using its long jaws and conical teeth to grasp fish rather than crush bone. While T-Rex dominated the forests and open plains of North America, Spinosaurus ruled the river ecosystems of North Africa. Their prey, hunting methods, and even their locomotion were vastly different. However, there is compelling evidence to suggest that T-Rex was a capable swimmer in its own right. While T-Rex was not an aquatic predator, it certainly was no stranger to water. Fossilized trackways indicate that T-Rex could wade through deep water, using its powerful legs to propel itself forward. Some scientists believe that T-Rex may have used its strong tail for balance when swimming, much like modern birds, its closest living relatives. Theropod dinosaurs in general were likely strong swimmers. Paleontologists have found evidence that many large theropods, including T-Rex, had partially webbed feet, which would have helped them move through muddy or wet environments. Some researchers argue that T-Rex could have used rivers and lakes to travel long distances, or even hunt prey that ventured too close to the water's edge. One thing is clear: while Spinosaurus was highly adapted for aquatic life, T-Rex was an opportunistic swimmer rather than a marine hunter. The two were evolutionary marvels in their own right, each excelling in their respective domains. One ruled the rivers, the other dominated the land.
Spinosaurus represents one of the most fascinating evolutionary experiments in dinosaur history. It was neither fully terrestrial nor fully marine, existing in a grey area between land and water, much like modern crocodiles. Its adaptations, from its crocodile-like skull and conical teeth, to its fin-like tail and dense bones, set it apart as the first known semi-aquatic dinosaur. As new fossil evidence continues to emerge, our understanding of Spinosaurus's lifestyle will only grow richer. With its mysterious sail, powerful aquatic adaptations, and dominance over prehistoric waterways, Spinosaurus remains one of the most extraordinary dinosaurs ever to have lived. And so we are left to wonder how many other dinosaurs may have ventured into water, blurring the lines between terrestrial and marine life. Could there be undiscovered species that push the limits of evolution even further? One thing is certain: the story of Spinosaurus is far from over.
When we imagine the most fearsome marine predator, the great white shark often comes to mind. Measuring up to 6 meters, 20 feet in length, and weighing over 2,000 kilograms, the great white is undeniably one of today's most formidable ocean hunters. But in the vast prehistoric seas of the Cretaceous period, an entirely different predator reigned supreme: the Mosasaur. Mosasaurus, the largest of its kind, could grow up to 17 meters, 56 feet, long, almost 3 times the length of a great white shark. This marine reptile was a true leviathan of the Cretaceous seas, boasting a powerful, elongated body that allowed it to slice through the water with remarkable speed. Unlike modern sharks, which rely on cartilage-based skeletons that make them lightweight and highly agile, mosasaurs had robust, bony skeletons, giving them immense mass and strength. Some estimates suggest that mosasaurs could weigh over 14,000 kilograms, 30,000 pounds, dwarfing even the largest predatory sharks of today. One of the most significant differences between mosasaurs and modern sharks lies in their swimming mechanics. Great white sharks, like all cartilaginous fish, rely on a side-to-side tail motion, propelled by a crescent-shaped caudal fin. Mosasaurs, however, evolved a more advanced means of propulsion. Recent fossil evidence suggests that mosasaurs had a large shark-like tail fluke, which allowed them to generate powerful thrusts similar to that of today's fastest marine predators. However, instead of cartilage, their tails were reinforced with bone, making them even stronger and more resistant to damage. This adaptation gave them the ability to accelerate rapidly and ambush prey with devastating efficiency. Another key comparison is their jaw structure and bite force. The great white shark possesses a legendary set of serrated, triangular teeth designed to saw through flesh and bone. With a bite force estimated at 1.8 tons per square inch, great whites can tear apart large prey in a matter of seconds. Mosasaurs, on the other hand, had a different but equally lethal approach. Their double-hinged jaws and flexible skulls enabled them to swallow prey whole, much like modern snakes. Their conical, backward-curving teeth were optimized for gripping and puncturing slippery prey, such as fish, ammonites, and even other marine reptiles. Some fossil evidence even suggests that mosasaurs engaged in cannibalism, feeding on smaller members of their own species when food sources were scarce. Beyond their physical attributes, mosasaurs and great white sharks also had very different hunting strategies. Great whites are primarily ambush predators, relying on speed, stealth, and a well-timed strike to disable prey. They use electroreception and keen eyesight to detect the slightest movement in the water. Mosasaurs, however, were active pursuit predators, chasing down prey over long distances using their powerful tails and streamlined bodies. Their large, forward-facing eyes provided them with excellent depth perception, allowing them to accurately judge distances when attacking. Unlike sharks, mosasaurs breathed air, meaning they had to surface periodically, much like modern whales. This suggests they may have relied on burst swimming and deep dives to track and capture prey before resurfacing for air. Another striking difference between mosasaurs and great white sharks is their evolutionary lineage. While great whites belong to the family Lamnidae, which has existed for over 50 million years, mosasaurs were true marine reptiles, descending from land-dwelling ancestors related to monitor lizards. Their evolutionary path saw them develop flipper-like limbs, a streamlined body, and a powerful tail fin, all of which made them highly specialized for life in the ocean. However, unlike sharks, which have thrived for over 400 million years, mosasaurs were relatively short-lived in evolutionary terms. They appeared around 100 million years ago and disappeared suddenly 66 million years ago during the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, the same mass extinction that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs. So, how would a great white shark fare against a mosasaur in a hypothetical encounter? While great whites are fast and highly efficient hunters, they would be completely outmatched in terms of size, strength, and power. A fully grown mosasaur could easily crush a great white with its sheer bulk, or deliver a lethal bite with its massive jaws. In an ocean ruled by mosasaurs, even the fiercest modern sharks would have been little more than a snack. Ultimately, the comparison between mosasaurs and great white sharks highlights the ever-changing nature of marine dominance. While mosasaurs ruled the prehistoric seas, their extinction paved the way for the evolution of modern marine predators. Today's great whites are the closest thing we have to the ancient ocean's apex hunters, but even they pale in comparison to the monstrous reptiles that once terrorized the Cretaceous oceans.
Throughout history, Earth's oceans have been the great sculptors of life, shaping the creatures that inhabit them, molding them with the relentless forces of time and evolution. In the Mesozoic Era, these waters bore witness to some of the most remarkable beings ever to have lived, creatures so perfectly adapted to their world that they ruled unchallenged for tens of millions of years. The seas of this ancient time were both a sanctuary and a battlefield. Here, marine reptiles learned to navigate a world dictated by tides, by shifting coastlines, by prey that evolved alongside them in a desperate race for survival. In the sunlit shallows, the long-necked Plesiosaurs glided with a grace unseen in any other predator, while in the deeper abyss, the swift and intelligent Ichthyosaurs hunted with unerring precision. And yet, the greatest of them all, the Mosasaurus, were not present at the dawn of the Mesozoic. They emerged in its final act, seizing the opportunities left behind by their predecessors, grown to sizes that defied belief. These enormous predators were the embodiment of nature's ability to refine and perfect, to take what came before and shape it into something even more formidable. But even they, despite their size, their strength, and their reign over the seas, could not escape the march of time. The very oceans that had nurtured them would one day turn against them. A changing planet, an asteroid's impact, and the slow, inevitable transformation of Earth's ecosystems would bring their dominance to an end. Still, the imprint of their existence lingers. In the fossils unearthed from ancient seabeds, in the shapes of the creatures that still roam our oceans today. The story of the Mesozoic seas is one of power, of adaptation, of survival. And though their rulers are long gone, the echoes of their reign remain, carried by the tides of time, forever woven into the history of life on Earth.
Life on Earth has always been in a state of motion. The transition from sea to land was one of the most significant evolutionary milestones in history. But just as some species ventured onto land for the first time, others would take an equally daring path, returning to the sea. The story of marine reptiles is not one of abrupt transformation, but of gradual adaptation over millions of years. The first true marine reptiles emerged during the Triassic period, over 250 million years ago, but their origins stretch back much further. To understand how they came to dominate the seas, we must look at their ancestors, reptiles that once roamed the land. Their journey began in the aftermath of Earth's greatest mass extinction, the Permian-Triassic extinction event, often called the Great Dying. This catastrophic event wiped out over 90% of marine species and 70% of land species. Entire ecosystems collapsed, and the world's oceans, once teeming with life, became barren and desolate. But extinction is always followed by opportunity. The empty oceans became a stage for new evolutionary experiments. Among the survivors were small, semi-aquatic reptiles that had already begun to show an affinity for water. Some of these creatures, like early diapsids, developed elongated bodies, flexible limbs, and efficient respiratory systems, allowing them to hunt in rivers, lakes, and coastal waters. Over millions of years, natural selection would sculpt them into the first true marine reptiles. It was during this time that the ocean became a true evolutionary battleground. As marine reptiles spread into new habitats, they faced competition not only from each other, but also from large predatory fish and early sharks. This pressure to survive led to increasingly sophisticated adaptations, better eyesight for hunting in murky waters, stronger jaws for capturing elusive prey, and more efficient locomotion for navigating the open seas. From land to sea, the evolutionary transition. The ancestors of marine reptiles were once exclusively land-dwelling creatures. These early reptiles belonged to the diapsid lineage, which included a variety of species with two distinct skull openings behind their eyes, an evolutionary trait that allowed for more efficient muscle attachment and stronger bites. Over time, some of these land reptiles began to explore aquatic environments, a process that would take millions of years, but would ultimately transform them into fully marine-adapted species. One of the earliest examples of this transition was Mosasaurus, a small, semi-aquatic reptile from the early Permian period, approximately 280 million years ago. Mosasaurus still retained many land-based features, including fully developed limbs, but it had already begun adapting to a marine lifestyle. Its elongated body, flattened tail, and interlocking teeth, perfect for catching slippery prey, suggest that it spent much of its time hunting fish in freshwater or brackish environments. Though not a true marine reptile, Mosasaurus provides an early example of how reptiles were beginning to experiment with life in water. The real transformation, however, took place in the Triassic period, 252 to 201 million years ago, when reptiles fully committed to the ocean. Several distinct groups evolved during this period, including the Ichthyosaurs, Nothosaurs, and early Plesiosaurs, each with unique adaptations for life in the sea. Ichthyosaurs, the first fully aquatic marine reptiles. Among the first marine reptiles to achieve full aquatic specialization were the Ichthyosaurs, a group that emerged around 250 million years ago. Unlike Mosasaurus, Ichthyosaurs were completely adapted to life in the open ocean. Their bodies became streamlined and torpedo-shaped, reminiscent of modern dolphins. Their limbs evolved into rigid fins, and their powerful tails enabled them to propel themselves through the water at remarkable speeds. Fossil evidence suggests that Ichthyosaurs developed a range of adaptations for deep-sea hunting. Their large eyes, among the largest of any known vertebrates, suggest they relied heavily on vision to locate prey in the dimly lit depths of ancient oceans. Some species, like Temnodontosaurus, had eyes nearly 25 centimeters in diameter, allowing them to see in near total darkness. Their ability to hold their breath for extended periods suggests they may have been deep divers, much like modern sperm whales. Nothosaurs, the marine reptiles that kept one foot on land. Not all early marine reptiles were fully adapted to life at sea. The Nothosaurs, a group that lived alongside Ichthyosaurs, retained a more amphibious lifestyle, similar to modern-day seals. They had elongated bodies, webbed feet, and flexible necks, allowing them to hunt in shallow coastal waters. Fossils show that they were skilled ambush predators, using their streamlined bodies to slip through the water with minimal resistance before striking at unsuspecting prey. Despite their efficiency in the water, Nothosaurs never fully abandoned land. They likely came ashore to rest, mate, and lay eggs, much like sea turtles do today. This reliance on both land and water made them vulnerable to environmental changes, and by the end of the Triassic, they were replaced by more specialized marine reptiles, including the Plesiosaurs. Another significant evolutionary step in marine reptile history was the emergence of the Pliosaurs, small, slender-bodied reptiles that were the predecessors of the iconic Plesiosaurs. Unlike Nothosaurs, Pliosaurs had paddle-like limbs that were far more specialized for swimming. They also had elongated necks, a feature that would become even more pronounced in their Plesiosaur descendants. Fossils indicate that these creatures were agile hunters, capable of maneuvering with precision through the water. Their interlocking teeth and flexible jaws suggest they primarily fed on small fish and squid. Over millions of years, as they became more adapted to marine life, their descendants, the Plesiosaurs, would grow to dominate the Mesozoic seas. The changing oceans and the fate of early marine reptiles. Despite their success, the early marine reptiles of the Triassic period faced constant challenges. The Earth's oceans were in a state of flux. Sea levels rose and fell, coastlines shifted, and ocean temperatures fluctuated. These environmental changes meant that only the most adaptable species could survive. As the Triassic gave way to the Jurassic, Ichthyosaurs continued to thrive, evolving into even more efficient swimmers. The Nothosaurs, however, gradually disappeared, replaced by the more specialized Plesiosaurs, which would go on to dominate marine ecosystems for the next 100 million years. This period marked the true beginning of the golden age of marine reptiles. What began as a slow return to the sea had now become a full-scale conquest of the oceans. These reptiles had evolved to breathe air, give birth to live young, and outcompete all other marine predators. Their reign had only just begun, and their impact on prehistoric ecosystems would be felt for millions of years to come. The prehistoric oceans were as vast and varied as the continents themselves, and within these waters thrived a diverse range of marine reptiles, each uniquely adapted to its habitat. From the shallow, sunlit coastal waters to the abyssal depths of the open ocean, these creatures carved out niches that determined their survival. To truly understand how these reptiles lived and hunted, we must first explore the environments they called home. Unlike today's oceans, which are shaped by millions of years of tectonic activity and climate shifts, the Mesozoic seas were vastly different. Supercontinents were breaking apart, sea levels were higher, and entire inland seas stretched across what are now dry deserts and plains. The marine reptiles of this era adapted to these ever-changing conditions, evolving features that allowed them to dominate every corner of the prehistoric oceans. The coastlines of the Cretaceous period were dynamic and teeming with life. These warm, nutrient-rich waters supported an abundance of fish, ammonites, and smaller marine reptiles, making them prime hunting grounds. Here, predators like pliosaurs, a subgroup of short-necked plesiosaurs, thrived. With their powerful, stocky builds and immense crocodile-like jaws, pliosaurs like Liopleurodon patrolled the coastlines, ambushing prey that ventured too close to the shallows. Another notable coastal predator was the mosasaurs, particularly species such as Cladastes, which preferred near-shore environments. Unlike the larger Mosasaurus, which dominated the open seas, Cladastes was smaller, more agile, and perfectly suited for maneuvering through reefs and coastal shallows. Their elongated bodies and tail-driven propulsion allowed them to dart between rocks and coral structures in pursuit of prey. They likely hunted in a manner similar to modern-day moray eels, using stealth and quick bursts of speed to catch unsuspecting fish. But life along the coasts was not just about the predators. These regions were also crucial for reproduction. Fossil evidence suggests that some marine reptiles, much like today's sea turtles, may have returned to land to lay their eggs. While direct evidence is scarce, the transitional nature of early marine reptiles, such as notosaurs, suggests that some species retained the ability to move on land, albeit clumsily. Moving away from the coasts, we enter the vast, seemingly endless open ocean, a world ruled by the true leviathans of the deep. Here, the massive Mosasaurus hoffmanii, a creature exceeding 56 feet, 17 meters in length, reigned supreme. These deep-water hunters relied on their incredible speed and endurance to track down prey, utilizing their shark-like tails for bursts of acceleration. The ichthyosaurs, often compared to modern dolphins, were perfectly adapted for life in the pelagic zones. Species like Spinosaurus, growing over 15 meters, 50 feet, thrived in these deep waters. Unlike mosasaurs, which relied on ambush strategies, ichthyosaurs were high-speed pursuit predators, capable of sustained swimming at high velocities. With their streamlined bodies, large eyes adapted for deep-sea vision, and torpedo-like movement, they hunted schools of fish and squid-like cephalopods, much like today's orcas. Open ocean predators often had large, forward-facing eyes, an adaptation for detecting movement in the dimly lit depths. Many mosasaurs and ichthyosaurs also had countershading, a dark back and light belly, to blend in with the ocean from above and below, reducing their visibility to both prey and other predators. Below the sunlit surface waters lay the twilight zone, where light barely penetrates and pressure mounts. Few marine reptiles ventured into these extreme depths, but evidence suggests that some species, particularly large plesiosaurs, may have been capable of deep dives. Plesiosaurs like Elasmosaurus, with their incredibly long necks, may have used these depths to their advantage, extending their reach to surprise schools of fish or nautiloids in near total darkness. These creatures may have functioned in a similar manner to today's sperm whales, diving deep to locate prey using enhanced vision and possibly even some form of sensory adaptation yet to be fully understood. Mosasaurs too may have ventured into deep waters, albeit temporarily. Their ability to hold their breath for extended periods would have allowed them to dive hundreds of meters below the surface, much like modern whales. It is believed that some larger mosasaurs, such as Tylosaurus, may have relied on sonar-like adaptations to detect prey in low-light conditions, although this remains speculative. Each of these environments required specialized hunting techniques, and the marine reptiles of the Mesozoic mastered them in extraordinary ways. Pursuit. Predators, Ichthyosaurs, used sheer speed and agility to chase down prey, their hydrodynamic bodies allowing them to reach impressive speeds. Ambush hunters, Mosasaurs and Pliosaurs relied on stealth and rapid acceleration to capture their prey in swift, decisive strikes. Surprise attackers, Plesiosaurs, particularly long-necked species, may have hovered motionlessly in the water, striking with sudden bursts of speed when prey came near. Opportunistic feeders. Many species adapted to multiple feeding strategies, switching between scavenging and active hunting depending on availability.
Beneath the waves of the prehistoric oceans, a world both beautiful and brutal unfolded. Here, in the sunlit shallows and the abyssal depths, evolution sculpted creatures of unparalleled mastery. The waters were alive with hunters and hunted, locked in an eternal battle for survival. And as we uncover the fossilized remains of these magnificent beings, we glimpse a past where the oceans teemed with giants, each perfectly adapted to its realm. A world lost in time, yet still whispering its secrets to those who listen. The marine reptiles of the Mesozoic were far more than mere sea-dwelling lizards. They were the undisputed rulers of their domains. Their diverse adaptations and habitats allowed them to dominate the prehistoric oceans for over 150 million years. From the coastal shallows to the abyssal depths, these creatures mastered every corner of their world, shaping the evolution of marine life as we know it today. Even now, as modern oceans host their own apex predators, none may ever reach the sheer scale and dominance once held by these ancient giants. Their legacy, however, remains carved into the very fabric of the earth, waiting to be uncovered by those who seek the stories of the deep.
The reign of the great marine reptiles came to an end in one of the most dramatic mass extinctions in Earth's history. The late Cretaceous period, roughly 66 million years ago, saw the disappearance of Ichthyosaurs, Plesiosaurs, and Mosasaurs, leaving a void in the oceans that was soon filled by sharks, marine mammals, and other emerging species. But what exactly led to their extinction? Scientists have put forth several theories, each providing a piece of the puzzle in understanding the collapse of these dominant marine predators. Before the cataclysmic asteroid impact that marked the end of the Cretaceous, the Earth was already undergoing significant environmental shifts. The climate had been gradually cooling, causing changes in ocean temperatures and circulation patterns. Many marine reptiles were highly adapted to warm, stable conditions, and this gradual cooling may have disrupted their food chains. Oxygen isotope analysis from marine fossils suggests declining sea temperatures in the late Cretaceous. The reduction in plankton populations, a primary food source for marine food chains, likely led to cascading effects on higher predators like mosasaurs. Rising sea levels had begun receding, shrinking the shallow coastal habitats that many marine reptiles relied upon. Paleontologists believe that these slow but steady changes made marine reptiles more vulnerable, setting the stage for their eventual demise when a greater catastrophe struck. While marine reptiles ruled the oceans for millions of years, they were not the only predators in the water. By the end of the Cretaceous, competition from rapidly evolving species intensified. Among the most notable rivals were sharks, which had been diversifying and developing advanced hunting strategies. Fossilized mosasaur bones bearing shark bite marks suggest increased competition and predation. The appearance of faster and more specialized fish species may have outcompeted some marine reptiles for food. Some marine reptile species, such as Ichthyosaurs, had already vanished before the asteroid impact, possibly due to ecological competition. These factors suggest that marine reptiles were already facing challenges from within their ecosystem before the final blow came. The most widely accepted theory for the mass extinction event is the Chicxulub asteroid impact, a massive collision that struck the Yucatan Peninsula in present-day Mexico. This impact, measuring approximately 10 to 15 kilometers, 6 to 9 miles in diameter, released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs, leading to a rapid and catastrophic environmental collapse. Gigantic tsunamis surged through ancient oceans, devastating coastal habitats where many marine reptiles thrived. Superheated debris ignited wildfires across the planet, altering atmospheric conditions. Soot and debris blocked sunlight, leading to a dramatic drop in global temperatures. The collapse of the food chain followed as photosynthesis stalled, killing plankton and marine plant life, which in turn led to starvation among herbivorous marine creatures and their predators. The asteroid impact may have released sulfuric acid into the atmosphere, causing acid rain and lowering ocean pH levels, which could have been fatal to many marine organisms. Marine reptiles like mosasaurs gave birth to live young in the water, and their nurseries may have been destroyed by changing ocean conditions, leading to a sharp population decline. Not all marine life perished during this mass extinction. Some species, such as sharks, ray-finned fish, and early marine mammals, managed to survive and eventually dominate the post-Cretaceous seas. The reasons for their survival include smaller size and lower energy requirements, allowing them to endure food shortages. Their adaptability to colder and darker environments made them more resilient to rapid climate shifts. Faster reproductive cycles enabled populations to recover more quickly than long-lived marine reptiles. The legacy of marine reptiles extends far beyond their time in prehistoric seas. Though they vanished millions of years ago, their influence can still be seen in the modern ocean's inhabitants and ecosystems. By studying these ancient giants, scientists have gained a deeper understanding of evolution, adaptation, and even the future of marine life in today's changing world. One of the most striking influences of marine reptiles is seen in the body shapes and movement patterns of modern marine predators. Ichthyosaurs, for example, had a body structure remarkably similar to today's dolphins and certain species of sharks. Their streamlined, torpedo-like shape allowed for rapid movement through water, minimizing drag and maximizing efficiency. The same principles of hydrodynamics that shaped ichthyosaurs over millions of years have influenced the evolution of today's ocean dwellers, proving that nature tends to refine and perfect successful adaptations over time. Plesiosaurs, with their long necks and large flippers, offer insight into how different body plans can be specialized for unique hunting strategies. While there is no direct modern equivalent, their way of life resembles that of sea turtles, which use large, powerful flippers to navigate the oceans. Sea turtles, like plesiosaurs, rely on ocean currents for migration and are excellent long-distance swimmers. Some researchers speculate that plesiosaurs may have even used similar reproductive strategies, possibly returning to shallow coastal areas to give birth, much like modern sea turtles return to beaches to lay eggs. Mosasaurs, on the other hand, share many characteristics with today's apex marine predators, large sharks and marine mammals such as orcas. Fossil evidence suggests that mosasaurs had a powerful tail-driven swimming technique resembling the movement of some shark species. Their ability to dominate marine food chains can also be compared to orcas, which are highly intelligent, social predators that hunt cooperatively. The dominance of mosasaurs in prehistoric oceans demonstrates the effectiveness of such predatory strategies, some of which continue to be observed in the ocean's top hunters today. Beyond physical similarities, marine reptiles also provide insight into the way marine ecosystems functioned in the past and how they may change in the future. Fossilized stomach contents and teeth wear patterns allow scientists to reconstruct ancient food webs, helping us understand predator-prey dynamics. This knowledge is invaluable as we study the effects of modern environmental shifts, such as climate change and overfishing, on today's marine predators. The extinction of marine reptiles also serves as a stark reminder of how delicate ocean ecosystems can be. Their disappearance was linked to massive environmental disruptions, including temperature fluctuations, habitat loss, and ultimately, the catastrophic asteroid impact. Today, many marine species face similar threats, from warming seas to human-driven habitat destruction. By studying how marine reptiles adapted and ultimately failed to survive, we can apply lessons to modern conservation efforts. Another fascinating area of study is how marine reptiles adapted to different levels of oxygen in the ocean. Some marine reptile fossils suggest that they were capable of holding their breath for extended periods, similar to modern whales. This raises questions about how prehistoric creatures managed oxygen efficiency and deep-sea diving, concepts that marine biologists still study in modern cetaceans. Understanding these adaptations could have practical applications in fields such as bioengineering, medicine, and even the development of new diving technologies. Studying the remains of these long-extinct giants also gives us a glimpse into how life continually reinvents itself. The evolutionary pathways taken by marine reptiles demonstrate that life is not static. It is a constant process of trial and adaptation. The success of marine reptiles in their respective eras shows how organisms can exploit different ecological niches, something we still see happening in the natural world today. The oceans of the Mesozoic may be gone, but their legacy continues. Every time we observe a dolphin's swift movements, a sea turtle gliding through the currents, or a great white shark hunting with precision, we are witnessing echoes of a time when marine reptiles ruled the seas. Their story is a testament to the power of evolution, the resilience of life, and the constant transformation of Earth's ecosystems. While they may have vanished from the oceans, their impact is forever imprinted in the life forms that continue to thrive beneath the waves. And so, As we reach the end of our journey through the prehistoric seas, we stand in awe of the creatures that once ruled the ancient oceans. From the swift and streamlined Ichthyosaurs to the long-necked Plesiosaurs, the fearsome Mosasaurs, and the semi-aquatic giants like Spinosaurus, marine reptiles defined an era of dominance, adaptation, and survival. Their world was vast, teeming with life, shaped by the ever-changing forces of evolution and environmental upheaval. These reptiles were not just passive inhabitants of the ancient seas, they were pioneers, pushing the boundaries of what it meant to be a marine predator. They developed powerful adaptations, flippers that cut through the water with precision, streamlined bodies built for speed, and crushing jaws designed to dominate the food chain. Some, like the Mosasaurs, ruled the depths with an iron grip, while others, like the Plesiosaurs, used stealth and agility to hunt. Each species had carved out its own ecological niche, thriving in a world both beautiful and unforgiving. But as with all chapters in Earth's history, the reign of the marine reptiles came to an end. The same forces that had once allowed them to flourish, the shifting of continents, the changing of climates, and the delicate balance of ocean ecosystems, would eventually contribute to their downfall. The asteroid impact that marked the end of the Cretaceous was a cataclysm unlike any other, wiping out entire species in an instant. The vast oceans that once echoed with the movements of these magnificent reptiles were forever changed. Their time had passed, leaving behind only fossils and mysteries for us to uncover millions of years later. However, their legacy continues to ripple through time. Today, when we look at the great predators of our oceans, sharks, whales, and sea turtles, we see echoes of these prehistoric rulers. The same evolutionary principles that shaped the Mosasaurs and Plesiosaurs are at work in modern marine life, fine-tuning species for survival in an ever-changing world. The adaptations that once gave marine reptiles the edge in their environment are the same ones that have allowed today's apex predators to thrive. Beyond their impact on modern ecosystems, marine reptiles also offer us a window into the past, a reminder of how life on Earth is constantly evolving, adapting, and sometimes disappearing. Their story is not just one of dominance, but of resilience, innovation, and ultimately, extinction. And in studying their history, we gain a better understanding of the world we live in today. As we move forward, exploring new frontiers in science and paleontology, the story of marine reptiles remains a powerful testament to the forces that shape our planet. They remind us of the fragile balance of ecosystems, the power of adaptation, and the relentless march of time. Though they no longer roam the oceans, their fossils continue to tell their story, and their presence lingers in the very fabric of life beneath the waves. The prehistoric seas may be gone, but their memory is etched in stone, waiting for us to uncover, study, and learn from. And with each discovery, we come closer to understanding the grandeur of Earth's history and the creatures that once ruled the depths. The age of marine reptiles may have ended, but their story lives on in the endless blue of our modern oceans.